So today we're going to be looking through my Lowney's Cookbook Illustrated. It's the revised edition from 1921. Lowney's was actually a chocolate company, as you can see from the ads they have at the back of the book. But unlike the Hershey's cookbook, there's not a lot of chocolate recipes in here. This is a lot of just regular cooking. We are actually going to be doing some vintage sandwiches, or a vintage sandwich from this. The celery sandwich, where the directions say, mix 1 cup finely shredded celery, 1/4 cup finely chopped nuts, and 1/4 cup chopped olives. Moisten with mayonnaise and spread between thin slices of brown bread. Well, this means I need to make the brown bread recipe, which, let's see, is, where is that? I probably should have put page numbers on this. There it is, brown bread. This seems to be similar to the Boston brown bread, and it calls for 1 cup cornmeal, 1 cup graham flour, 1 cup rye flour, 1½ teaspoons of salt, 1/2 cup of molasses, 2 cups of sour milk, and 1½ teaspoons of soda. So, for this, I wasn't able to find particularly graham flour, but I got a stone ground whole wheat that I will be using. Both it and the rye flour are the Bob's Red Mill, because they're not things I can as easily find in my local grocery store. For the olives, we're using black olives, because I do not like green olives. So let's give this a try. We'll have to start with the bread. Okay, so first I started with the stone ground whole wheat flour that I was using instead of the graham flour, and then the rye flour, and then the cup of cornmeal, and then we have 1½ teaspoons of salt, and 1½ teaspoons of baking soda. Now, originally the recipe said to sift the baking soda, then sift it again with all of the other ingredients, but ultimately I'm lazy. So the baking soda only got sifted once. I don't think that it in any way hindered the brown bread recipe. I will say in the future, I need a bigger can. Then you add the 1/2 cup of molasses, and it says 2 cups of sour milk. I have the powdered buttermilk I keep on hand, so that's what I used for that. I went ahead and pre-mixed it. Probably should have done a better job of mixing it before I had added it to this, because as you see, I get to the end and there are a few clumps in the bowl. But at this point, you blend well. Okay, so this is where the recipe gets a little sketchy. Well, not give you much information. It just says pour into molds and steam. So I had seen enough recipes that I knew I needed kind of a tall can. So here I'm using a 28 ounce can that fruit cocktail had come in. It was not enough, so I ended up using another smaller standard size can of whole corn. For the smaller one, I filled them about 3/4 of the way full and then covered it in parchment. Note the little pleat that I folded into the parchment to give it some room to expand. And then I tied it really tight with some cotton twine. And then I put it in my little steam basket and steamed both of them. The recipe said 3 hours to steam it. That is not necessary. This ended up steaming for 30 minutes, and you see how poofed up it is and done. They actually turned out beautiful, although the smaller can, of course, overflowed. I figure I need 2 28-ounce cans. I ended up actually using the narrower one to make my sandwiches with. I need to get better at cutting thinner slices. So the salad, I used 2 tablespoons of hazelnuts. I halved this recipe because I was really unsure. It kind of scared me a little bit. I chopped my olives instead of using pre-chopped olives because whole olives is what I had. Once again, I used black olives because I just don't like green olives. And the recipe did not specify what sort. Now, the recipe did call for finely shredded celery. I no longer have a shredding box thing, and I didn't want to get out the shredding attachment for my KitchenAid. So I just finely chopped. Although I did not do a very good job of actually getting that done in the frame of the camera. And the 2 stalks of celery came out roughly to be a 1/2 cup of celery. Once again, I am doing a half recipe. And then at this point, you just moisten with mayonnaise. No measurements, just moisten. So I did about a tablespoon's worth and mixed it all in. So then I cut 2 slices of the brown bread. And once again, I chose the smaller loaf so that I could make a small sandwich. And messily put that on there and put the other slice of bread on top. Not a real difficult sandwich to make. It's kind of like making tuna, but without the tuna. It turned out very pretty, but once again, I really do think I should have made a thinner slice of bread. Okay. The moment of truth. This is the sandwich. It's kind of as thin a slice as I was able to get with this bread. I'll have to practice on it. I only did a half recipe because, I'll be honest, I was a little concerned about it. Let's see how it goes. Honestly, mostly what you taste is the brown bread. I might have to try thinner slices yet, but the celery salad makes an interesting crunch. I think I actually kind of like it. But reading the recipe, this is just weird. Just saying. Yeah.
for watching.